Oh, that is stunning.
Guten Yardening, everybody. Well, I'd say we've had a pretty successful transition from growing this Chicago hardy fig indoors and now moving it outdoors. And in this video, I'm going to show you how we pot up this plant, and perhaps even more importantly, we're going to get our first ever taste of Chicago hardy fig. This will be my first fig that I've ever eaten fresh off the tree.
As we've tracked the growth of this fig over the first couple of months that we've had it, we've noticed a ton of fruit developing on here, and the amount of growth that we're seeing is substantial, but it's not excessive, meaning that the conditions are actually pretty good for it. I think this is a really great amount of growth, but we're going to go ahead and transplant into a bigger pot. Now, this is not the ideal time, but we don't want to waste an entire season with something that is root bound either, because I still think a lot of this fruit is actually going to ripen the whole way. So I'm going to pull this out of its pot really gently so we can take a look at exactly what's happening with the roots. So I'm going to just tip it upside down so I'm not putting any stress on it. And we weren't sure if this would be root bound, but I would say that this is definitely, you see all these spiraling roots here, this is definitely the beginnings of, if not somewhere in the middle of the process of becoming root bound. So we definitely don't want that to happen in terms of stunting the growth. We don't need it to get any worse. So I'm going to loosen these roots up a little bit, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in a much bigger pot. The potting mix that we're going to be transplanting this into is pre-moistened. It's a mixture of peat moss, coco cure, and organic compost. And we've also got some perlite and vermiculite in there to help with retention of the water and also drainage. It's going to be gentle. I'm going to loosen up these roots so they have a different direction to go. And remember, we're keeping this Chicago hardy fig in container. We're keeping it in a container so that it doesn't get too big for us. We want to be able to still keep it indoors over our winter. So again, nicely, gently, I'm loosening up everything in here just so that we're no longer spinning and twisting as we're growing, and they'll just grow out because they have a bunch more space in this new pot. All right, I think that should just about have it. Look at all these brand new roots here along the edge as well. See the difference in color? All right, we're going to go ahead and put this in the pot, and I think we're going to have to give it a support as well because it's leaning off to one side. But for now, we're just going to add our mix. All right, looking at the level here from the side, I need to add a little bit more of the potting mix underneath because this will settle a little bit. Again, we want to give it plenty of room to grow. All right, let's see how that looks. That's about the right height there. And now we can start adding our potting mix around it. All right, I'm going to finish this up and I'll be right back with you. I should mention we've also added a little bit of fertilizer, and I have what we've added on the screen. And we've also pre-moistened this, and the reason we've pre-moistened this mix is because we found that especially when peat moss is involved, the initial watering is much easier when we've got a little bit of moisture already added. All right, I've left about a ½ an inch as we finish up here so that we don't get any overflow out of the pot when we water. All right, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull away any of this mix from right here on the stem above the root line. I don't want any moisture there because we don't want any chance of rotting. And our Chicago hardy fig is now repotted and ready to go. The only thing I want to do is add a little support. For our support, we added a small bamboo cane that we attached loosely so that we're not restricting the growth of this stem, and we placed it so that it's outside of the initial root zone so that we're not causing any kind of trauma to the roots either. All right, we're going to go ahead and move this over to the temporary outdoor garden location. And there we have it nestled amongst all of our other front yard and vegetables, our volunteer potato here off to the side that we planted. I think this is a great location for it, and we're going to keep it out here all summer. And then we have some decisions to make about how we want to store it over the winter, whether or not we want to keep it in our garage or back down in our growing area. So we'll see what we have planned. Well, one thing's for sure, the next couple of months are going to be really interesting with the growth of this fruit on this fig. And take a look at this. Just a few days after we transplanted these figs, we're seeing quite a bit of color change. This one's got a little bit bigger. It's real soft right now, so I hope that's actually a good thing and not something we did in the transplant process. These up top here, though, they haven't really shifted or changed all that much. Well, less than a week after we transplanted this fig, we saw that the bottom two here were really starting to ripen up. And this one in particular is really soft. It's like it's barely hanging on. So I'm gonna harvest this and I'm gonna do a little taste test. I really don't know how this is going to be, but this will be my first ever fig fresh off of the tree. So I'm gonna give it a little twist. So there we go, the first fig we're harvesting off of this Chicago hardy fig. I'm not really sure if it's really ripe enough. We still see some green here where the skin has come back a little bit, but I'm gonna cut this open and I'm definitely gonna do a taste test now to see what it tastes like. All right, I went ahead and I rinsed this off. Even though we don't put pesticides, it's always best to clean it off. And let's take a look at what the inside looks like. Oh, that is stunning. Remember that figs are inverted blossoms and you can see the little pieces here. Look at all those seeds in here. Oh, that is magnificent. Absolutely beautiful first fig off of this Chicago hardy fig. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and do a little taste test. All right, first ever fig fresh from the tree. I'm only gonna eat part of it because I gotta save the rest for the rest of the family to see. Now, I've heard the first year fruits might not be as sweet as second or third years, but we're about to find out. All right. That's delicious. That is so good. I guess I'll save the other half, but that is fantastic. I really didn't know what to expect, but it's fresh, a little bit fruity, really soft texture. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe the taste. It's definitely sweet. It's not over sweet, but it's definitely got a nice fruity flavor. It's got a kind of soft texture, not really a lot of grit to it or anything like that, which I'm a little surprised because there are quite a few seeds, but I didn't notice that at all. It's really tender, really nice. And if the rest are going to be like this, then we are in for some real treats. Hopefully, over the next couple of months, the rest of the 10 or 15 fruit that we got here first year are going to ripen up, and then we'll have a whole bunch more of these to enjoy. This was a great investment, and we look forward to more figs. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.